Hi, my name is John Anderson. I'm pleased that you can join me at the home of Nasser and Johanna Maliki in Savannah, Georgia, where I had a recent exhibition of my most recent work, and I would like to take you on a little tour of that home exhibition that I've just completed here in Savannah. Behind me on the wall you'll see one of the images that's been the most popular in this show. It's an image that's printed on aluminum, and it is an image that's called Carnival in Venice. It's an image that tries to convey something of the excitement and the joy that one would have at being in a carnival and exploring that. And so it's just a burst of color and texture and movement that is exciting. This is another work on aluminum, and it presents a kind of an idea of fractals being broken and falling apart. I call this one Fractured Time because it tends to break apart like fractals in the universe, and it sort of screams out with color and texture. At some points it may look like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, but it really does capture that sense in which fractals go through the universe, creating these spirals that bring things into being. And so this is kind of a creation mode, if you will. It brings together movement and action and color, and presented on aluminum, it just pops with a real vigor and a real kind of energy that catches hold of the person who's viewing it. This work is another work in aluminum. It's called Matrix 2, and it has to do with the kind of thinking that goes through quantum physics about the universe and the way the universe is a matrix for all of creation to come to being. Here we see all kinds of swirls of chaos mixing in and forming patterns and so forth that will eventually evolve into forms and shapes that come through colors and textures and movements as the painting literally swirls, if you will, into existence. This is another piece. It looks like a very simple piece, and it started out in my mind with a simple notion that blackness and emptiness are where light emerges from. And as light comes out of the darkness, it begins to form for us shapes and textures and colors and brings into being something out of nothing, which is where we all come from. We all come from the nothingness of the universe into existence, and so that container of blackness really holds all the shadows and patterns and colors that need to give birth to creation. And this, in fact, has become for me one of the most exciting pieces in the show. My friend Nasser refers to it as Picasso-like, and I also like to concentrate on the kind of transparency it gives of the light as it emerges out of darkness. This is another piece on aluminum, and this piece is focused on the concept of time as a spiral. Rather than time being a kind of continuum along which we travel, time is a swirling kind of spiral that goes through space, and it's the container that allows us to dwell even on this planet. It creates the kind of way in which we can actually find ourselves in the moment that we are now in. In the sense of time, there's no past or no present. There's only this eternal now that weaves its way through the universe, and that is what makes experience of life possible for us as human beings. And that's what I've attempted to capture in this piece. This is a rather large piece, and it's the first piece I'm showing you that's done on canvas rather than on aluminum. This piece has to do with the night and the mystery that comes out of the night, and just literally explodes into a journey through the night into the vividness of almost a fire as it comes ablaze. And you can see in the center of the piece like a tunnel or a door that's coming out of that darkness into the light, where all this color just literally explodes and bring this image into being and just kind of comes out of the darkness like a journey through the night in which you emerge right into the brightness of the light. And so this one is done rather large, and it is done in a canvas so that the colors are not quite as reflective but are more muted, and I think it works very well. This is one of my favorite pieces as well. I keep saying different ones are my favorite ones because each one I create I tend to fall in love with. This particular one, again, I originally considered doing on canvas because of the nature of the way it looks and appears with its colors and its textures. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought about how the canvas would absorb so much of the color that the vibrancy would be lost. And so I decided to do it on aluminum. And this exciting image has emerged with, again, the color, the texture, and the movement that just gives a sense of kind of peacefulness and calmness that comes out of these rich blues and golds and reds as they all swirl together, just creating a very dynamic image that's taught me that the aluminum, again, can sometimes give life to something that otherwise might be lost in another medium. With this image, I bring you back again to a canvas image. And again, this is a rather large image. And again, it's a more subtle in its colors and all, but it seems to work so well on canvas that I decided to go ahead and do it on canvas. And I'm glad I did, because I think you see enough detail in this image. If you'll notice in the center of the image, this white figure that has sort of a pharaoh-like head sitting on the top of this face. And so I call this one, with good-humored nature and fun, King Tut, because it reminds me of Tutankhamun when he was a young boy. And here he is in the midst of this painting in what might be well considered colors of the desert out of which he came. And so this painting ended up being called King Tut. It was originally conceived the exact opposite, 180 degrees, and I didn't see the King Tut in it. But later, when I turned it around and just flipped it, I said, oh wow, King Tut's here, and I didn't even know he was here. So he made his appearance, and now he's here for you to see. We will go back now to the aluminum prints, and this is one of the smaller prints in the show. This print is called the Divine Matrix, and again it picks up on the idea of the matrix that is the matrix of creation out of which all things come. This is a good illustration, again, of how something that is very contemporary and modern will fit, though, in a very traditional setting. If you notice the colors in this room and the furnishings when you look around this room, is a very traditional home, and yet this very modern piece stands right here in the middle of this and is able to blend in and is able to give itself a place and find its own place in the midst of a home setting. That's one of the things I hope you'll notice in this video, is that this is in a home that's very traditional, and that although these might be considered very contemporary works, they work very well and they blend in with the traditional. And I think this is a good example of that. Now we're coming to the end of this quick little whirlwind tour through my images. And I'd like to end again with this aluminum. This is a rather large piece again as well. It's also an exciting piece because it has a kind of a stained glass effect to it. My agent likes to refer to this as my Tiffany shot. Actually, it was made in a cemetery, and it was had to do with a grave and the ironwork around the grave. And so I look at it and see all these little spirits coming out in happiness at their continued life. And so I'd like to end with this kind of note of joy that these vivacious live spirits give us, and invite you to look further and contact me on my website or directly if you are interested in seeing more of the images.